College football fans, black and gold fans, welcome in or welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog, the channel where we examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football, the channel that covers everything across the entire college football landscape, north to south, east to west, and everywhere in between. Thank you guys and gals for being back with me. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks, and this is my Week 3 preview and picks episode. That's right, Week 3 will be upon us in a mere days. That is uber exciting to have college football back, but in the same sense, also uber depressing, because at the end of the weekend, what does that mean? It means that a quarter of the regular season will already be over. It just seems to go faster and faster every season. But it's great to be back with you once again. I'm uber excited and jazzed up for this episode. I'd like to give a quick shout out to all of my coworkers at both the St. Louis and Kansas City location. A lot of them are going to be tuning in for the first time today. So welcome, and please don't hold it against me too much. All right. And before I say anything else, I just want to give another shout out to all of you members of the Touchdown Black and Gold family. Thank you for your continued support, everything that you've done for the channel. But we need to keep a good thing going. We are gaining a lot of momentum. Views are up, subscriptions are up, rates, likes, comments are up. But I need more help to find college football fans just like you. The Touchdown Black and Gold vlog is created for all college football fans, not just fans of the black and gold of the Iowa Hawkeyes, but for everyone. Everyone is welcome here, a safe haven, safe ground, holy ground, sacred ground. Take your pick. You are all welcome here, and I always ask and welcome and plead for your participation. So please, during the episode, comment, subscribe, get notifications for the upcoming episodes. You are the ones who drive these episodes, and I can't wait to hear from you, and I promise I will get back to each and every one of you, your comments individually, sooner than later. If this is your first time joining me here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, also know that it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here with you, sharing my love for all things college football on the weekly with you. I do not do any edits. I don't do any retakes, any dress rehearsals. I simply just click, record, upload, and send, because doing all of that aforementioned nonsense, that just sounds like work. And I already have a job with 2 children, very highly involved in other things. This is a straight up hobby for me, your average common Joe college football fanatic. Now let's go ahead and talk about today's episode. Thought I'd go ahead, obviously, you can tell I put on my Sunday's best here for you. Wanted to clean myself up a little bit and try to do what I can to make this look a little bit better. But then again, I'm not a miracle worker. What I've got on tap for you. As normal, I'm going to start off my Week 3 preview and picks episode I'm going to give you a quick Heisman Trophy update going into Week 3. And these would be the 4 Heisman Trophy finalists that I would vote for right now to get to NYC to win the coveted Heisman Trophy at the end of the regular season. And also a couple cats who are just on the outside looking in, or potentially in that Heisman Trophy waiting room, that holding pattern, you might say. After that, I'm going to go into my underdogs of Week 3. That's right. Each and every week, I will present to you 4 games, and I will start from the smallest to the largest as far as underdogs. 4 games to where I could see these underdogs actually pulling the upset. I've had pretty good luck so far early here in this season. So that'll be the next segment. And then after that will be my favorite segment of each and every week, the reason why you're here. Simultaneously, my Week 3 preview and picks segment. Can't wait to get to that. But first things first, let's go ahead and get it started. Shall we? And please subscribe, like, share, comment, get involved. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with my Heisman Trophy update. And I'm going to start off, hand it over to Iowa's lone Heisman Trophy winner in their history, Mr. Niall Kinnick, the man whose name, the stadium bears his name currently in Iowa City. His very inspirational 1939 Heisman Trophy speech. Great words from a great man, a fallen hero, Navy pilot.
A better coach never hit these United States. And a finer bunch of boys and a more courageous bunch of boys never graced the gridirons of the Midwest than that Iowa team of 1939.
Thank you, Niall. Thank you very much. All right. So let's now go ahead and move into who I have right now on my Heisman Trophy shortlist. Now, preseason, I did present to you my 4 Heisman Trophy finalists, and I will let you know where those 4 currently are. And as of right now, 2 of them are still alive, and the other 2 have kind of fallen off into that next group in that waiting list, so to speak. So let's start off with the 2 that are still remaining. And there's still plenty of time for some of these candidates and individuals to continue to rise and fall based on their results, how they play, their performances. First of 4, I have quarterback Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, one of my 4 original picks. His numbers and production are off the charts. He is still solidly in. Next, the second person that I still have in the running, quarterback Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner from last year over at USC, who will next year be in the Big Ten along with Washington. He continues to put up game-like numbers, Xbox numbers, PlayStation numbers for the Fighting Trojans and Traveler. Now, the 2 that have joined the list, and I've got to start with probably hands down the biggest win of the year, and he was the field general, and he played an excellent game. I mean, dropping dimes left and right. That's right, Drake. I'm going to go ahead and bring in your boys and your boy. I'm talking about quarterback Quinn Ewers from the University of Texas. Welcome to the Heisman Trophy shortlist. And the last Heisman Trophy finalist that I would have selected today, this was a tough one, all right? And there's going to be a little bit of disagreement on this one compared to the first individual I will list next, who is the first person out. But I have to go between these 2 with Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Currently, he's completing better than 80% of his passes. The guy has been efficient and then some, obviously. Granted, Michigan hasn't really played any stiff upper lip type competition, but they're selling out against that vaunted run attack. They are basically just saying, okay, J.J. McCarthy, you're going to have to beat us with your arm and your accuracy, which has always kind of been the little bit of the hit on him. The DL was, he's not the most accurate arm strength. But he is proving so far this season that is not the case. So those are my 4 Heisman Trophy finalists as of today. Now, the 3 individuals that I have in the Heisman Trophy waiting room on the next level, still on the outside looking in, but still could join that first list. I have quarterback from Florida State, Jordan Travis. I get it. He looked excellent. He looked godlike. Well, I should say more like Herculean, more of a man, but less than a god, I guess is what they used to say about Hercules. And their dominant win, especially in the second half, opening week against LSU. But I'm just not quite sold on the longevity of Jordan Travis. So he's my first person out. I just want to wait to see what will his encore be against somebody who actually can push Florida State. Next, I've got quarterback from LSU, Jaden Daniels, who he was also one of my 4 Heisman Trophy finalists that I picked preseason. LSU obviously stubbed their toe opening week against Florida State in that game I previously just mentioned, but I do think this kid can get back to that first list. Page 1, they're going to have their opportunities, especially in the SEC West, which does look like it might be slightly down as of right now, this point in the season. And my last Heisman Trophy finalist on the outside looking in, he was my preseason pick to win this year's Heisman Trophy. I'm talking about wide receiver from Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr. And right now, it's just simply he's not getting enough targets and catches. Ohio State is still trying to figure out their quarterback situation. Just a couple days ago, Kyle McCord was given the official start for week 3. They're just trying to figure things out after the departure to the NFL of last year's stud quarterback, C.J. Stroud. So that's what's really holding back Marvin Harrison Jr. in my perspective is just he's not getting fed enough. And he's hungry. You got to feed this guy like it's hungry, hungry hippos. All right? So that's my Heisman Trophy finalist and Heisman Trophy update and standings pre-week 3 for you. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know what you think about my potential finalist. I'd love to hear from you. Now let's move into my next segment. Oh, that can mean only one thing. It's time for week 3's That's right. It is time. That's right. Let it play. Let it play. That's right. That can only mean it's time for my week 3 underdogs. Each and every week, I will pick out 4 games to where I think the underdogs via the betting lines can pull the straight up upset. Not cover, but I'm simply cover and win outright. And for some of you who are wondering what that sound was, if you're not familiar, might want to look into it. The old Hanna-Barbera cartoon, Underdog. It's just something a little bit funny. But so how I've been doing so far this year, I've been doing okay with my underdog picks. Last week I did go 1-4. I was hoping to do a little bit better. My lone victory was Northwestern, the Wildcats just breaking it off on the UTEP Miners. If you recall, Northwestern, a Power 5 team from the Big Ten Conference, my conference, was a home underdog against UTEP last week. And the final score, I believe, was 38-7. And that program, those young men who've been through so much, the offseason scandal, coaching change, a lot of turmoil, you could tell they definitely needed that victory, and they savored it as they should. So here is my 4 underdog games of the week, and I always like to start off smallest to largest, as far as the smallest underdog spread to the largest, as far as being the one that's the most improbable, but yet possible, because we know things can happen in this great game of ours. So let's start off my Chihuahua. The small pick that I'm going with is Syracuse, the Orange of the ACC. They travel to West Lafayette to take on Purdue. That's right, Ken. Your boys can hopefully boil her up. Purdue finds themselves a 2.5-point underdog at home. Last week, Purdue was able to pick up their first victory of the year, the first victory for new coach Ryan Walters in a extended weather delay due to all the rain last week at Virginia Tech. So hopefully Purdue can make it 2 in a row, but the Orange are going to have something to say about that. So we'll see how that game plays out. Now, the next underdog would kind of be the Corgi as far as the size of the dog. Remember, it's not the size, but the fight in the dog. I'm talking USA. No, the the University of South Alabama, the Jaguars from the Sun Belt, they travel to Oklahoma State to take on the Cowboys of the Big 12. USA finds themselves a 7-point road underdog. I really like this South Alabama team, guys. They have, I believe, 14 starters or 15 back from last year's team that was very solid, including their quarterback. I think they are more than capable to pull this upset victory because, quite frankly, Oklahoma State does not have any quarterback play whatsoever. If you stayed up late last week and watched Oklahoma State, they took on Arizona State out in the desert. It was not appealing on the eyes at all. It was a defensive struggle, push and pull. Probably was really good snoring time, to tell you the truth. So I think USA, the Jaguars, are more than capable to go in to Boone Pickens Stadium and get that upset over the mighty Cowboys of the Power Five. Now, the next dog to me is the Golden Retriever. I'm talking, and speaking of dogs, I love this, the NIU Huskies. That's right, Northern Illinois University. They travel to Nebraska to take on the Cornhuskers in Lincoln. It's Coach Matt Rule's first home game as the new head man at Nebraska. And things have started off very, very ugly for the Huskers. They're currently 0-2. Now, NIU is an 11.5-point road underdog as of today on Thursday the 14th. So that number might rise and fall slightly. And it's hard for me to really get a good read on this NIU team because let's rewind here a little bit. Here's my rewind button. There's rewind. Week 1, they opened up with a big road win at Boston College of the ACC, knocking off a Power 5 team as a MAC school from the Mid-American Conference. But now they're trying to do the same thing against Big Red and your boys, Tim. So hopefully you're watching. So let's see what NIU can do. And then week 2, last week, they lost at home to FCS Southern Illinois University. That's right. The Salukis traveled north and took care of NIU in DeKalb, Illinois. So let's see, as far as this NIU squad, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. Because I don't know what NIU team is going to show up, but I definitely think it's going to be a bad Nebraska team that's going to show up. So watch this game. Now, my last underdog for week 4, the Great Dane. There's a big time underdog number with this one. Georgia Southern of the Sun Belt Conference. They travel to Wisconsin to take on the Badgers of the Big Ten. Georgia Southern finds themselves a 19-point underdog. Now, Wisconsin last week lost at Washington State, so they come back home to the friendly confines of Camp Randall in Madtown, Madison, Wisconsin. Now, here's why I think Georgia Southern, the Eagles, under former USC head football coach Clay Helton, is going to have one hell of a good opportunity to win. Georgia Southern plays the same kind of offensive scheme that Wisconsin wants to play. This year, with new head coach Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, they are trying to implement a new balanced or air raid type offense to not so heavily rely on Wisconsin of the past, but be able to throw the ball around the yard more often. And that's exactly what Georgia Southern can do. But they have more experience doing that as a program, as a coaching staff, and a roster. So I'm telling you right now that if Georgia Southern can get out early on a lead at Wisconsin, and if Wisconsin just cannot execute better than Georgia Southern can, this is going to be a close game. I definitely think Wisconsin will be able to maybe run the ball and control the lines of scrimmage, but Georgia Southern can put up points. And this is a team that last year went to the aforementioned Nebraska and took care of the Cornhuskers in Lincoln last year. So they're trying to repeat against a Big Ten Conference foe. So please comment, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think about my comments and my commentary about week three's underdogs. So we'll go ahead and let it finish up. So good luck to this week's underdogs. We're all rooting for you, unless you're a fan of the team that they are playing. All right. So now, guys, it's time to get into everybody's favorite segment, the reason why you're here, my week 3 preview and picks segment. Now, I do these simultaneously, and let me break this down for you if this is your first time joining me on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Each and every week, I will pick 13 games that I will preview and pick. Every week, I will have 4 specialty games. I always have an Academy game of the week featuring a game with one of the service academies, Army, Air Force, or Navy. I will always have a group of 5 matchup game of the week, which will pit good against good from the group of 5 conferences. And this week, we've got a awesome game to select. I will always pick anytime my Iowa Hawkeyes play. And my final specialty game is my spotlight game of the week, or I believe is going to be the biggest game of the weekend. Now, a little tweak to that. I do not have an Academy game of the week for week 3 because either the Academy schools are on bye this week or they're playing during the week. And I always want to select games that happen on Saturday or after, giving you a chance to think about what I say, take it with a grain of salt, do your own research before you go ahead and enter your pools, your picks, you lay some bets down, try to make it rain up in here. So there is no Academy game of the week. So here's now as far as my goal, what I would like to do at the end of the regular season, I would like to be at 70% or better. I actually would prefer to be at 75%. Is kind of like my ultimate goal, but 70, that's still pretty good. That's where I want to be as far as my correct picks. Last week, I had a great bounce back week. I mean, week 1 was tough on yours truly. I went 6-7 week 1. Last week, absolutely nailed it. I went 12-1 last week. The only game I missed was I picked Pitt to defeat Cincinnati in the Steel City. That did not happen. So overall, right now, I am sitting at 69% for this season so far. It's early, but hey, I'm right on pace to eclipse 70% or better. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the picks here for week 3. And this is a big one, guys. My first game up on the docket. A game that has a lot of local interest, a lot's riding on it. If my first time with me, I am a native of Illinois, Northwest Illinois, born and raised. I grew up an hour and 10 minutes from Iowa City. I currently reside in the Show Me state of Missouri, and Columbia, Missouri, where the University of Missouri is located, is really a stone's throw away. This is a big one. I'm talking about number 15 K-State, the Wildcats. Blake, your boys, and all of you alums, you fans out there in Kansas City at that location, they travel to Columbia to take on Brad's boys, the Missouri Tigers. And this is a return game from last year's matchup that happened in the Little Big Apple out in Manhattan, Kansas. A game that was one-sided, won by the Wildcats of K-State. Now, I'm telling you, Missouri needs to have a good game. So far, their offense has looked very vanilla, much like the Iowa offense, but Missouri does have better athletes, better speed, but their offense is off to a very, very slow start. They have got to come out more inspired, because you know what K-State's going to do. They're going to try to bludgeon you, body shot you like Rocky taking down Ivan Drago. You chop the tree down, go to the body. They're going to try to wear you down and control that line of scrimmage. And the line on this game is only 3.5. Maybe Vegas sees something that I don't, but I do not believe this game is going to be that close. Kansas State, after all, is the defending Big 12 champion. They are the team that handed TCU their only loss in the regular season and into conference championship week. They've got all 5 guys back on the offensive line. They've got a stud quarterback in Will Howard, who's a proven commodity. I think this year's matchup will be a lot closer, but I like K-State to win. And one of those type of games that it's going to look closer on the scoreboard than what it actually is on the field. So sorry, Brad, all you K-State fans, I'm going with the Wildcats in this game. Next game up, an SEC conference matchup. Number 14 LSU travels to Starkville to take on the mighty Bulldogs and the power of the cowbell. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Starkville or Mississippi State cowbell. You'll have a headache the rest of the week and into the weekend. So how I see this game playing out, LSU definitely underachieved opening week, that big matchup against Florida State. I think they're a better team than what they showed, but they definitely have got to bounce back. And I think Coach Brian Kelly really put them on notice by some of his public comments, challenging and calling out some of those players and some of the units. Mississippi State, this is the first season under new head coach Zach Arnett. He replaces Mike Leach, whose untimely death at the end of last year's regular season is still being felt there in Starkville. I love their quarterback, Will Rogers. I think he is the best pure passer in the SEC. He definitely fit Coach Leach's air raid offense, but Coach Arnett is more defensive-minded, more grinded out, run the ball. I believe last week, Mississippi State, who they did beat Arizona, but in overtime from the Pac-12, I think Will Rogers threw it less than 20 times. That's not a recipe for success. Let him do his thing. I don't think they will, and I do like LSU to pull off a very, very close victory in Starkville. Give me the Tigers, and as their former coach would say, go Tigers. My favorite Cajun and Coach Ed Ogeron. Next game up, another game that has a lot of local interest, especially among my coworkers at the St. Louis location. I'm talking about number 7 Penn State. Tim's boys travel to Illinois to take on Brett's crew on Saturday at 11 o'clock. The Fighting Illini and the Nittany Lions meet up. So Penn State off to a great start. They look to be one of the most complete teams in all of the country. Young quarterback Drew Aller or Allar, I'm not quite sure how you say his name. I've heard it pronounced both ways. No disrespect there, Drew, Mr. Aller, whatever it is. That he has shown glimpses of being why he was the overall number 1 recruited pocket-type passer in his recruiting class. He has looked excellent, primo, but he has yet to face a Fighting Illini defense like this, to where, they go on the road to sleepy Champaign-Urbana to take on an Illinois squad that, quite frankly, last Friday night against Kansas in Lawrence, got absolutely embarrassed on national television. More specifically, their defense, giving up more than 500 yards to quarterback Jalen Daniels of Kansas, who is a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate, a Kansas team that I've been telling you guys is an absolute under-the-radar team that could maybe get to the Big 12 title game. So will Illinois respond to that? I think they will. They will get up for this game because they are trying to slow down this Penn State attack. Their defense is very good. And like I said, a young quarterback facing his really first true test of the season. This is their first official road game. So I think Illinois will make it tough sledding for Penn State initially, at least for a half. But I do think ultimately Penn State's talent and speed and depth wears Illinois out, and I think they will pull out the victory. I like Penn State in this game over Illinois, but Penn State not only playing the early game so they might come out sleepwalking. But making his first appearance here in week 3, this game is also a what kind of game, Admiral Akbar?
It's a trap.
Thank you, Admiral, because next week Penn State hosts my Iowa Hawkeyes in state college for the annual whiteout game at Penn State next week. So maybe they're looking ahead to the ranked Iowa Hawkeyes squad. We'll see. Next game up, big time. I love this matchup in the non-conference. From the Big Ten, the Minnesota Golden Gophers travel to Chapel Hill to take on number 20 North Carolina. So Minnesota's not traveling by plane. They're not traveling by bus. They're traveling. PJ Fleck's going to be rowing that boat all the way out to the East Coast to take on stud quarterback Drake May and the professor, the teacher, Coach Mac Brown. It's really going to come down to the quarterback play. We know what we have in Drake May. The guy is going to be a first-round draft pick in next year's NFL draft in the spring. He will be. Now, Minnesota's quarterback, the Greek god, Ethan Kaliakmanis, the Greek god, he's really struggled a little bit, but Minnesota is going to slow down this vaunted North Carolina offense because they are so big and physical. But I just don't think when push comes to shove, they can outscore North Carolina. They will make it tough for them, but ultimately the home team, they're able to secure victory. I'm taking the Tar Heels over Goldie and the Golden Gophers, and that'll send Coach PJ Fleck rowing that boat back to Minnesota. All right, next game up, big game. I love this matchup too in the non-conference. And there's a lot of matchups this week of ACC versus Big Ten. You probably have noticed. This is another one. Virginia Tech travels to Piscataway, New Jersey to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers is out to an impressive 2-0 start, looking very, very good, much improved under Greg Schiano. Virginia Tech, I just don't think they're very good. I think they have a lot of work to do there under second-year coach Brett Pry. I like Rutgers in this game. I think it's going to be an ugly game, but Rutgers is the better team. They get out to a 3-0 start, which would be a good accomplishment for Greg Schiano and his boys. I'm taking the Scarlet Knights in this game. Next game up, we've got big one. Number 8, Washington. The Huskies, who, if you recall, if you watched my Crystal Ball Bold Predictions episode, I picked this team, Washington, to be one of my 4 college football playoff teams. Number 8, Washington travels to East Lansing to take on Sparty, the Spartans, and Michigan State. All I can say is this has been chaos. I mean, it's been chaos this week. And I'm talking about the current situation, another blemish for Michigan State that makes them look awful in the eyes of the optics of what's going on. Another embarrassing scandal and happening. It seems like this Michigan State athletic department just can't stay out of their own way. I mean, what I'm talking about, if you haven't heard, and I'm not going to go in detail, I try to keep this PG-13 at most, but current coach Mel Big Money Tucker is currently suspended without pay, and quite frankly, he will not coach another game at Michigan State. I'm just telling you. But he has been suspended due to a sexual harassment issue to where he was doing very unsavory things on the phone. If you want to know anything more about this, just Google it. I've seen a lot of really funny memes, a lot of funny jokes, and I'm just going to go with calling, instead of Coach Tucker, I think I'll call him Coach Mel Tugger. That's all I'm going to say about this one. Because of all of that distraction, what's going on within this Michigan State locker room, the program, I like the Huskies and quarterback Michael Penix Jr. to have a big day Give me the Huskies every day and twice on Sunday. I'm taking Washington. Next game up is an interesting matchup, one that we don't see too often. It's a return, a visit from last year's game. BY who? BYU. The Cougars travel to Arkansas to take on the Hogs of the SEC. Big 12 versus SEC. Last year they met up in Provo, Utah. KJ Jefferson, quarterback for Arkansas, had a career day. I love the BYU head coach, Kalani Sitake, a guy that it doesn't get the credit that he is due. You know one thing about BYU, is you know they're going to be physical on the lines of scrimmage. I mean, these guys are old. They have families. These are like senior citizens because having to go on their Mormon mission trips, a lot of the talent and roster on BYU is always going to be a little bit older, wiser, maybe not as athletic or strong, but I think this is going to be a tug and tug kind of game. I think the difference is KJ Jefferson with his feet, the stud quarterback at Arkansas. I think he is the ultimate playmaker and the decider in this game. I like the Hogs at home, pig suey, but it's going to be a very, very close game. Next game up, I've got TCU from the Big 12 travels to new addition to the Big 12, the Houston Cougars. So a Big 12 conference game. TCU, even though they lost opening week at home against Colorado, and Coach Prime and Shedeur Sanders, who are the story so far early in the college football season. Houston has looked up and down like the elevator business. I mean, they've been all over the place. They defeat UTSA week 1, 17-10, I believe, after forcing 5 UTSA turnovers and barely win. Last week in the Battle of Houston, they lost to Rice. That's right, the Rice Owls defeated them. That being said, enough said on this. I like the Horned Frogs to go into Houston, take care of business. Give me the Horned Frogs in this matchup. All right. Next game I got, and this is really a game that I had to put this one on this week's Pick'em. It's under the radar kind of game, but I'm talking Fresno State and Victor E. Dog, one of my favorite mascots in all the nation. Fresno State, the Bulldogs travel to the desert to take on Sparky, another one of my favorite mascots. Sparky and the Arizona State Sun Devils. Sparky is looking to say to Victory Dog, fork you, fork me, fork them, is what he's trying to say with his pitchfork. But this Arizona State team, major rebuild. They have the youngest coach in his first year at the helm. I do forget Jeff Lebby, I believe his name is. I think that's what his name is. I forget, it's out of there. Fresno State comes in 2-0. They looked very good opening week in their win at Purdue and West Lafayette. I think their offense is much better. We've seen very strange things happen, though, in the desert, in the Valley of the Sun. But I'm taking a risk. I'm going with Fresno State and the Bulldogs in this game. And also, I think Arizona State might be looking slightly past Fresno State because next week they have a big conference matchup in the desert when mighty USC comes calling to town. So I think this is the chance to be another kind of what game, Admiral? Thank you very much. Right on cue. Admiral Akbar's in mid-season form already. So that's another reason why I am taking the Fresno State Bulldogs. Now, last regular game of picking before my specialty games. This year's edition of a rivalry renewed that got back together last year. I'm talking the backyard brawl. Pittsburgh of the ACC travels to Morgantown to take on the Big 12 West Virginia Mountaineers. The Mountaineer crowd is going to be jazzed up. Coach Neil Brown might be coaching for his job this season at West Virginia. Last year, Pittsburgh won this game in opening week in a one-score possession game. It was very, very exciting. At the end of the game, I love this tradition. I can't go against it. I think West Virginia and their fans are singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads" by John Denver. They get revenge. I'm taking the Mountaineers at home in this year's matchup. All right, guys, now we're moving into my specialty games of the week. I only have 3 of them this week. My Power 5 matchup of the week. This was the hardest game for me to pick and break down. Huge tilt in the Sun Belt Conference. James Madison, who last week went to Virginia and took care of business against the Cavaliers of the ACC. They take on the Troy Trojans, who won the Sun Belt Conference title last year. They actually finished the year, I believe, winning 10 straight games, did the Trojans. Now, last year, it would have been Troy versus James Madison in the Sun Belt Conference title game, but James Madison was not eligible because it was their first year at the FBS level. They made the transition up last year and had great success, just like they did at the FCS level. So to me, this is last year's Sun Belt title game matchup. Troy does bring back a lot of talent from that team, but I was bullish last year like I am this year on James Madison. Tough game. I could see it going either way, but I'm taking the visitors in this one, guys. I'm going with the Dukes of James Madison to get it done. Next game, I don't expect this to be much of a game, at least I hope. I'm going to hold my breath. My next specialty game is the Iowa game, pick of the week. Western Michigan of the MAC, they travel to Kinnick Stadium and Iowa City to take on our Hawkeyes. Now, in this series, Western Michigan does actually have a winning record. They are 2-1 all-time against our Hawkeyes, and both of those victories have come in the Kirk Ferentz regime at Iowa as their coach. Cade McNamara is supposed to be 100%, is what all reports are saying. Maybe now he can finally look a little bit more comfortable as the starting quarterback of Iowa. That quad might be fully healed. I think if there's any sort of soreness, any risk of him not being 100%, they should not play him. They shouldn't need him. They've got one more week to right the ship, to establish a run game, which they have not yet, which is very, very concerning for us Hawkeye fans. It's a 28-point spread. I don't think Iowa is going to win by 28 points, but they do cruise to victory. Give me our Iowa Hawkeyes to improve to 3-0. I'm taking Iowa. Now, my spotlight game of the week. Brian, this one's for you. Huge tilt in the SEC, one of my favorite games to watch. Huge rivalry game within division. Number 11 Tennessee travels to the Swamp to take on Florida down in Gainesville. And it's been a long time since Tennessee was able to go to the Swamp and win. Now, Tennessee is very highly ranked, but this is not the Tennessee game of last season. Yeah, I do my own stunts here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Florida needs this game. This is a huge game for both squads, don't get me wrong, but the pressure and that seat of Coach Billy Napier of Florida is getting a lot hotter. Florida needs this game way more, I think, than Tennessee does. I think Tennessee is just smoke and mirrors. I think they will have a good season, but I don't think they're going to get to 10-2, 9-3 that a lot of experts are saying they are. I think Florida comes out inspired. I think they have something up their sleeve against the Vols. I think they're able to establish a run game. Graham Mertz has his best game to date, and I think it may not have much lasting power, but I'm taking the home team. I just have a feeling that Florida is going to come out inspired, put it together, and play a cleaner game than Tennessee. I'm going with the upset. I'm taking the home underdog. Give me the Gators to chomp the Volunteers in this matchup. All right, guys, that's my episode, my Week 3 preview and picks episode. Please, if you like what you saw and what you heard, subscribe, click that button, comment. I welcome, I ask for, and please beg for your comments. Well, not beg, but they'd be much appreciated. Please get involved. Let your college football voice be heard. Hit me up about anything. As you can tell, I'm a talker. Please get involved. Comment, like, share, rate. Now, next week, be looking for me. I will be back with my Week 3 review show to bring you up to speed on everything that happened in the weekend of Week 3. That should be out Monday, late afternoon, early evening. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the football, and thank you very much for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Until Monday, I'm History. Study me. Take care. Adios.